Hey, it's Rachel from 7 and All, and today we are doing something I have never done before. We are heading to the Homeschool Hub in Lewisville, Texas, to go to a $5 fill-a-bag sale. And as an overseas homeschooler, I have always heard about these kind of sales, library sales, or like homeschool overstock sales, where you can get a bag and fill it up for a certain amount of money. And that sounds cool, that sounds intriguing, but I've never had a chance to do it. But it just so happens that the schedule of our visit is lining up with this sale I heard about, so we're gonna go check it out. I really don't know what to expect. I don't know how good the selection will be. I feel like if you're gonna go to one of these sales, you should have like a good strategy in mind of these are the exact authors I'm looking for, or these are the curriculum series I'm looking for, these are the publishers' book series I'm looking for. So I definitely recommend probably going in with more of a strategy than I currently have at the moment. But I'm interested to go and see what we can find, and I'll show you my... Got to the sale like about 15 minutes before it started, and there were already a couple people there. And by the time like the opening time started, it was just surrounded by homeschool moms. So apparently this is how you attract all the homeschool moms to one place at one time, is have a $5 fill-a-bag book sale. Great strategy. It was really fun. And I realized, like, as you're searching, in a way you're being a little less picky, maybe, because you're like, I'm not thinking so much about the individual price as much as, hey, what can I fit in a bag? And I actually ended up filling 2 bags, so I spent $10, and I'll show you what I got. So first of all, I picked up this Discovery Kids Rock and Gem Dig. Just got this for an activity for my boys to do here because they've been really into any kind of gemstones, any kind of fossils. My son is actually right behind me with a big smile on his face because he is seeing what I got and is excited for this. And then picked up books, so some kind of science ones. This is from the Let's Read and Find Out science series, which is just great. What is the world made of? We don't have this title. Solids, liquids, and gases. This is the travels of Monarch X. I picked this up because one of my sons has been really into monarchs lately. Really fascinated by their migration, and this just really looked beautiful and well done, and a book that he would enjoy reading about monarchs. This is one I've heard of before. It's a beginner reader, but about seeds, planting, basics. Always nice to have some of these I can read books on hand. This is from the Cornerstones of Freedom series. That we have a couple of these already in our collection, but I don't have this one, the Golden Spike. And I remember the story of the Golden Spike fascinated one of my sisters when she was growing up. But these are also kind of like written at a relatively easy reading level, and American history books. So I picked up that one. Got an airplane book because, you know, science, airplane, mechanics looked cool. Children of the Wild West by Russell Friedman. Also, you know, so I don't necessarily know that much about all these books, but these were ones that looked interesting and useful enough to take a gamble on. So in the future when we do, you know, westward expansion history, thought that might be useful. This is a book that would have been really useful to us this past year when we did the Pilgrims, early settlers in America. I've heard of this book before, but we didn't have it. I didn't have any access to it, but, you know, we will cycle through that period of history again. So, picked it up for now. This was just a interesting little story about 2 friends that I got because it fit in the bag. How Many Ways Can You Catch a Fly? We've liked other books by Steve Jenkins with his kind of illustration style, and this was also about animals. How many ways can you dig a hole? And then it goes into the different strategies that different animals use. How many ways can you eat a clam? Different strategies that animals use. So there's a bunch of different topics in here. How can you use a leaf? So I thought that just seemed like a really cool science reader. We like science books. Burgess Mother Westwind Stories book. This is Rod and Staff God's Marvelous Works Book 2, which I think is a Rod and Staff Science. book, but I just got it thinking it could be a good reader, or perhaps a read aloud with short kind of nature readings. It looked pretty interesting with a lot of diagrams on nature topics. And yeah, this is not our science curriculum, but as I said, we like to read science books. I like to have them on hand. Working on building a nice science library because my boys are very interested in nature and science. I found that. This one is upside down. But this was a illustrated collection of Edgar Allan Poe poetry and short stories. And yes, I know he's dark. I like quite a bit of Edgar Allan Poe's mystery stories. I thought this was pretty cool because they have vocabulary and notes in the margins, which is really helpful. Sometimes, when he's using French words or something, a little French phrase, they have that, or sometimes they even have pictures or diagrams of what is being talked about. I just thought that was a really interesting addition, and we will for sure be reading Edgar Allan Poe, studying his work in the future. This will be a few years from now, not anytime super soon. Then there were also a couple of these that I picked up. They were wrapped up, so I wasn't sure what to expect exactly, but they looked interesting enough to gamble on. And it's a little biography of this person, and then it has a little activity book with some extra historical context. It has a little book with questions, and then it also has some kind of faux primary sources, like a front page of the New York Times newspaper. That's in the Abraham Lincoln one I got from the day that Robert E. Lee surrendered. Or they have tickets for the steamboat from this one from Mark Twain. So they just have some cute little memorabilia like that. And then there were also, little cards with the pictures of things. So Steamboat, Gold Rush, Pony Express, and Mark Twain. So each one came with that. So they were books that came with a bunch of little extra cool stuff. So it definitely seems great as a potential base for building a little unit study off of one person's life, and then the extra historical context around it. I never heard of them before, but hey, so that is my first bag sale experience. I probably could have fit all the books into one bag, except I got that rock and gem kit, and that kind of bumped me up into 2 bags. So, what do you think of my $10 haul from the bag sale? Let me know, and let me know if you have ever been to one of these fill-a-bag sales. By the busyness that there was, by a few minutes after they opened, I think that these are pretty popular, and I hope the store did really well and was able to clear out a lot of their overstock. All right, I'll be seeing you next time. Bye!